Dan Brown writes crime fiction. So does Mario Puzo. Hell, so does Cormac McCarthy. If that surprises you, stick around because we need to talk about what crime fiction actually is and how the label might be broader than you think. I'm TJ Stecker. Welcome to Fireside Writer. I'm an agented crime fiction author, former Navy aviator, licensed attorney, and I write novels about family secrets, military conspiracies, and small-town corruption in the mountains of North Carolina. Today, we're defining crime fiction by looking at 6 writers you might not immediately consider as crime writers, but absolutely are. Because understanding what crime fiction encompasses will help you write better stories and understand the tradition you're working in. So what is crime fiction? At its core, crime fiction is any narrative that centers around a crime. It's commission, investigation, consequences. That's it. That's the baseline. But here's where it gets interesting. Crime fiction isn't a monolith. It's an umbrella term covering everything from cozy mysteries to hard-boiled noir. From police procedurals to psychological thrillers, from legal dramas to organized crime epics. The common thread? A crime drives the plot. Someone breaks the law, murder, theft, conspiracy, treason. And the story explores the aftermath. Who did it? Why they did it? How they'll be caught, or how they'll get away with it. Now, the reason people get confused is because we've created all these subgenres: mystery, thriller, noir, suspense, but they all live under the crime fiction tent. A psychological thriller is crime fiction. A legal thriller is also crime fiction. Understanding this helps you see crime fiction for what it really is, one of the most versatile and enduring forms of storytelling. It's literature with a crime at its heart. So let's look at 6 authors who write crime fiction, even if that's not how they're typically marketed. Let's start with Dan Brown. Yes, the Da Vinci Code guy. People think of Dan Brown as writing thrillers or mysteries, but rarely think of him as a crime writer. Why? Because his books are wrapped in symbology, art history, and religious conspiracy. But strip that away, and what do you have? The Da Vinci Code opens with a murder. Jacques Saunier is killed in the Louvre, and Robert Langdon becomes the prime suspect. The entire plot revolves around investigating Saunier's death, uncovering a conspiracy, and figuring out who's behind it. That's crime fiction. Angels and Demons? Murders and kidnapping. The Lost Symbol? Kidnapping and conspiracy. Inferno? Bioterrorism plot, which is, a crime. Brown packages crime fiction in intellectual puzzles and exotic locations. But at the foundation, his stories are about crimes being committed and protagonists racing to solve them before more people die. He's a crime writer who happens to also be obsessed with symbology. Lesson for writers: crime fiction doesn't have to be gritty cops in dark alleys. You can dress it up in whatever clothing fits your story. Art history, religion, science. The crime is the engine, but the window dressing is yours to choose. And how about Mario Puzo? He wrote The Godfather. If you don't think that's crime fiction, I don't know what to tell you. Yet Puzo is often categorized as literary fiction or family saga because The Godfather is so much more than just a crime story. It's about family, loyalty, power, the immigrant experience, and the American dream twisted into something dark. But here's the thing. Every major plot point in The Godfather involves crime. The Corleone family runs illegal gambling, racketeering, and eventually drug trafficking. The story opens with a murder attempt on Vito Corleone. Michael's arc is defined by the murders he commits to protect his family. The climax is a coordinated series of assassinations. This is crime fiction. Puzo just elevated it with incredible character work, thematic depth, and prose that transcends genre. So here's the lesson. Crime fiction can be literary. You can write about organized crime, corruption, and violence, while also exploring deep themes about family, identity, and morality. The crime doesn't cheapen the literature, it grounds it in stakes that matter. What about Tom Clancy? He wrote techno-thrillers, right? Jack Ryan novels, submarine warfare, geopolitical intrigue, high-tech weaponry. But Tom Clancy also wrote crime fiction. Let's look at The Hunt for Red October. The Soviet submarine captain Marco Ramius is committing high treason by defecting to the United States with a nuclear submarine. That's a crime, arguably one of the biggest crimes you can commit. The entire Soviet Navy is hunting him down, and Jack Ryan is trying to figure out if Ramius is defecting or trying to start World War III. And Patriot Games? Terrorists attack Jack Ryan's family. Assassination attempt, kidnapping, murder, clear and present danger, drug cartels, illegal covert operations, and government conspiracy. Clancy's books operate on a massive geopolitical scale, but they're fundamentally about crimes, espionage, terrorism, treason, conspiracy, and the people trying to stop them or survive them. So here's the lesson. Crime fiction scales. It doesn't have to be one detective in one city solving one murder. It can be global, involving governments, militaries, and intelligence agencies. Espionage fiction is crime fiction, just bigger. Now we're getting into literary territory, which makes people uncomfortable calling it crime fiction. But Cormac McCarthy absolutely writes crime fiction. No Country for Old Men is crime fiction. Llewellyn Moss finds a drug deal gone wrong, steals the money, and spends the rest of the novel being hunted by a hitman hired to retrieve it. The story is about crime's consequences, about violence, about the randomness of death in the criminal underworld. Sheriff Bell is investigating the murders left behind, trying to understand a world where morality no longer applies. It's neo-Western noir wrapped in McCarthy's biblical prose. Blood Meridian, a novel about a gang of scalp hunters committing atrocities across the American frontier. That's crime fiction, historical crime fiction drenched in violence and existential dread. Crime fiction doesn't require justice. It doesn't require a detective solving the case or a bad guy getting caught. Crime fiction can explore the randomness of evil and the moral void some people operate in. It can be deeply literary. And Gillian Flynn, she writes psychological thrillers, but let's be clear, she writes crime fiction. Gone Girl is about a woman who fakes her own disappearance and frames her husband for murder. Sharp Objects is about a journalist investigating the murders of two young girls in her hometown while confronting her own traumatic past. Again, crime fiction. Dark Places is about a woman revisiting her family's massacre while she survived as a child. The entire plot is uncovering what really happened the night her mother and sisters were killed. Flynn is often labeled as domestic noir or psychological thriller, but those are just subgenres of crime fiction. Her stories are about crimes, murder, fraud, manipulation, and their psychological aftermath. So here's the thing. Crime fiction can be internal. It doesn't need car chases or shootouts. The crime can be psychological. Manipulation, gaslighting, revenge. Flynn proves that the most terrifying crimes often happen in relationships, and the most gripping investigations happen inside people's heads. And lastly, John Grisham. He writes legal thrillers, which is obviously crime fiction, but people sometimes separate legal thrillers from crime fiction as if they're different things. A Time to Kill opens with the rape and murder of a young black girl and her father's vigilante justice. The entire novel is about the trial that follows. That's crime fiction. The Firm. A young lawyer discovers his law firm is laundering money for the mob. Crime fiction. The Pelican Brief. Supreme Court justices are assassinated. Crime fiction. Grisham's legal thrillers are crime fiction told from the courtroom. Instead of following detectives, we follow lawyers. Instead of crime scenes, we get depositions and cross-examinations. But the foundation is the same. A crime has been committed, and the story explores its investigation and resolution. So here's the thing. Crime fiction isn't just about cops and private investigators. Lawyers, prosecutors, defense attorneys, they're all valid protagonists for crime fiction. The courtroom is just another battlefield where justice is contested. So what's the takeaway here? Crime fiction is broader than you think. It includes Dan Brown's intellectual puzzles, Mario Puzo's family sagas, Tom Clancy's geopolitical thrillers, Cormac McCarthy's nihilistic westerns, Gillian Flynn's psychological nightmares, and John Grisham's courtroom dramas. If your story centers on a crime, its commission, investigation, or consequences, you're writing crime fiction, and understanding that helps you see the tradition you're a part of. You're not just writing a thriller or a mystery. You're writing in one of the oldest, most versatile, and most enduring storytelling traditions in literature. From Crime and Punishment to Gone Girl. From Hammett to Lehane. Crime fiction has always been where authors explore morality, justice, power, and human nature at its darkest. So own it. You're writing crime fiction, and that's a hell of a thing to be a part of. If you want to learn more about my novels, military conspiracies, small-town corruption, family secrets, then head to my website, tjstecker.com. Sign up for my newsletter and get updated on my publication status. I've got updates, craft discussions, and insights you won't find anywhere else. We have new videos here every week on Fireside Writer. If this video helped you think differently about crime fiction, hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me what author you were surprised to see on this list or one that I missed. Until I see you next time, go write something.